This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with a Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Welcome to No One Told Us, the podcast that tells the truth about parenting and talks about all the stuff you wish you knew before having kids. I'm your host, Rachael, and today I'm so excited to speak with Meg Fee. Meg is a New Yorker, new mom, and her 9-to-5 career is in brand marketing at a big tech company. When she's not working, she loves getting creative and using her platform on Instagram to share about her sobriety journey, which she has been sharing, writing, and podcasting about since 2020. This is a topic that I've been asked a lot about, so I'm really excited to dive in. So Meg, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. Before we started recording, we talked about how this seems like it's kind of a way of life. I don't know how you describe it, but like this is definitely, I don't even want to use the word trendy, but I definitely do see more people talking about going alcohol free. And I myself have been alcohol free with one exception since last July. So it's been, amazing. I'm closing in on a year. I'll talk about that one exception maybe later, but I would love to hear just kind of like your background and how this all kind of started for you. Like I want to get into why you started sharing about it too, but what started it just in your own personal life?
Yeah. So, before we started recording, I was just saying, and I'll say it again here, there's so many people, you said trendy. I think that's okay. It is trendy, and I'm to be alcohol free, and that's okay in my book. There's so many people talking about sobriety, alcohol free life on especially Instagram these days, TikTok too. Mm-hmm. And so grateful that you are talking to me out of all people. Everybody has different opinions, sobriety, addiction, all of the things that can be wrapped up in sobriety or not, make it a pretty polarizing discussion to have. And then you layer on motherhood and like cannabis, and it gets dicey. Like, I'm excited. I love getting into all of it. But as for me, I'm just a mom. I'm a full-time working mom. I work in brand advertising. I have been for the past 12 years. Journalism was my education. And so I've always loved writing, and also that kind of like investigative part of journalism I love too, but that took me into marketing. And so like you said, I like to share. I like to get creative. My platform is kind of always changing. It used to be a bunch of different names, and I just was like, I'm going to change it to my name because I've had enough of like hiding behind a handle or whatever. Not that people are doing that, but as for me, and in like 2018, 2019, I was about 28 years old at the time. Had a boyfriend. I was living in New York City, work hard, play hard. I was drinking a lot, it was that was the way of life in my 20s. It started in high school and college, just like many people start drinking in high school and college. Mm-hmm. And it sort of just tumbled from there, like through my 20s. And I had highs and lows. Like there's not some crazy big, deep, dark secret or rock bottom or DUI, like you'll hear a lot of those stories, and those are powerful, important stories. But mine is just, I was sick of myself. I was sick of the hangovers. I blacked out a lot. I am a lightweight, so 3-4 glasses of wine, I was blacked out. Yeah, and then I would wake up and I would have that that shame, do stupid things, say stupid things. And again, like as I was approaching, like, I want to get engaged, I want to buy a house, I want to be a mom, all of these things that I wanted. My career felt a little stuck. Like I stumbled upon someone else on Instagram sharing their sober story in 2019, 2020. It's funny. I can go back in my screenshots and like see when I started noticing that content. Mm-hmm. From there, it just kind of, I used my Instagram page as like a journal kind of. It started as a place for me to just document and connect with people. And I realized that there was this whole like underground world of sober spaces on Instagram and communities and virtual meetings. Like, yes, there's AA, but there's also so much other stuff now, groups and ways of getting support in addition to AA, if that's not your thing. So yeah, just kind of like the platform grew and I started getting more loud about things over the years, started my own podcast. And so, yeah, I'll stop rambling, but that's kind of like how I got here. Yeah.
So you say that there wasn't like a rock bottom moment, which kind of same for me. Like there was no, me looking in the mirror and being like, you've got to change or like anything dramatic like that. But was there a specific moment for you that made you be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore?
Yeah, I say, and like, to clarify, it's like there was not one big moment of you hear people say, I got a DUI, I went to jail and spent the night in jail and then I changed. You'll hear that. And for me, it was like there were many little rock bottom moments. There were many days, nights, situations where I just was acting not myself, not in alignment with like my values, who I am, lying. There were parts of me that started like sneaking drinking. So it was slow. It was like, yeah, you find yourself kind of like sneaking in a drink before going somewhere on your own, or like ordering another drink at the bar, taking a shot really quickly. Like there's so many little examples where I would catch myself and be like, whoa, that's not me. Like, what? Hold on a second. So I would say there were a lot of moments like that. I had my bigger rocks along the way. Like I did have two mornings where I woke up in the hospital in New York City and I was like, how did I get here? Like that should have been a bottom, like a big rock bottom, but it wasn't. Like, so I would say it was just a gradual process. Like all of these moments just kind of compounding. And I will say my now husband, he at the time in 2019, 2020, like right before the pandemic, gave me a bit of an ultimatum, which sounds harsh. It kind of was, but I needed it. And it was just like, I can't see a future if you are going to continue to drink this way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like many rock bottoms like that ultimately, I think that if there had to be like one moment, that would be it, when he gave me that kind of ultimatum.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is too personal. And I know a lot of people on the alcohol-free journey parse this all out, but do you think that you had like an actual problem? Do you think you were addicted to alcohol?
Yeah, I would say so. I would have fallen somewhere so now it's diagnosed as alcohol use disorder. The older, addiction or addict or alcoholism, they're very like charged words and people feel ways about them. And so I always try and bring it back to alcohol use disorder is a spectrum. Like autism, it's diagnosed on a spectrum now. And there are those severe cases and there are moderate cases. So for sure, depending on like where I was, there were probably years where they would have been like, all right, moderate. And then there were probably years towards the end where they would have been like, yes, this is a severe AUD case.
Wow. Yeah, that
sure.
Makes so much sense. I actually didn't realize that was like the new diagnostic.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting too, because, a lot of the things that you were saying may sound extreme with your behaviors around drinking, but so much of it is normalized in our culture, especially when you're young, when you're in college. Like I remember drinking in college and even post-college, and the goal was to black out. Like you're drinking until you don't remember anything anymore, which is so unhealthy and insane to even say out loud and to think about now. But like that was just so normal. That was what everybody did. And it didn't seem like a problem.
And it was the goal. And we talked a little bit about you're out west before, and I went to school out west in Arizona, and a big party school, not ASU, the other one.
Okay.
University of Arizona, but both big party schools, and same, that was definitely college was where my drinking like ramped up. And then it's like you get out of college, you join the workforce, you're trying to be an adult, but those habits still follow you. And then depending on where you go, I went into creative advertising. I worked at an agency right out of college, a creative agency, and it was work hard, play hard. Like we had a bar in the office.
Yeah. Yep.
So it just keeps getting reinforced and normalized. Like, this is what we do. This is how we connect. This is how we schmooze clients. This is how we get creative, loosen up. Like all of those beliefs that we have as a society. And yeah, to go back to your point, it's like, if I talk about 2013 to 2017, very normal drinking. If you look at me from 2017 to 2020, that's where it got dicey. That's where it got exactly like some people might listen and say, whoa, that's crazy. You ended up in the hospital and then you kept drinking.
Right.
Yeah, but I also know a lot of people who did the same thing.
It's so interesting too, because then once you enter parenthood, it's normalized in like a whole different way, and like maybe not the going out and partying and blacking out level, but like, oh, I need to drink to cope with my kids, and like mommy wine culture and that kind of thing. So I'm really curious to hear when we get back from the break about how motherhood shifted things for you at all, if they did. We'll be right back.
Summer is here, and one thing I definitely don't want to be doing and don't have the time to be doing is cooking over a hot stove for hours and hours every single night. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-created, dietitian-approved meals are ready to eat in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating really well. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any lifestyle for summer and beyond. They've got 45 weekly menu options, and you can pick gourmet tasting meals that fit your summer gains and goals. You can choose from options like Protein Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart, and more, and it'll power you from sunup to sundown because it's so nutritious, filling, and honestly really delicious. We absolutely love our Factor meals. We always get so excited when our box arrives. I don't know how they do it, but everything that we've tried is so yummy. It tastes like you're eating food from a restaurant. Even the steak. I seriously don't know how they make it so tender, but it is delicious. And my husband also always loves the shrimp dishes. So you can get started at factormeals.com/no-one-told-us-50 off and use code no-one-told-us-50 to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code no-one-told-us-50 at factormeals.com/no-one-told-us-50 to get 50% off plus free shipping.
Mochi Health is a long-term weight loss solution personalized to fit your unique needs and goals. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who are on a mission to listen. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medications at an affordable, set price and get them delivered to their home each month. No insurance required, FSA and HSA accepted. With 24/7 customer service available, Mochi Health is here to partner with you on your journey to a healthier life. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com.
So you had stopped drinking how many years, Meg, before you had your baby?
So in 2020 was when I first quit. I reached a year almost of sobriety. It was like 10 months almost of sobriety in 2021. The reason I'm giving you this whole spiel is because sobriety is not linear, just like mental health is not linear for many people in general. So that recovery, that process has ups and downs, like lots of slips. Today, I'm 951 days alcohol free.
Wow, that's amazing.
2.5 years. When I was pregnant, I don't know what my streak was at the time. I know that I reached a year this September after she was born, but it had been, I guess, long-winded way of saying I had started quitting in 2020. So it was a few years in the making, but it did take a while to stick after I first started trying in 2020. And I get a lot of moms, I'm in like mom groups and mom sobriety groups, and I get a lot of moms saying like, you're so lucky that you quit like before she was born. And I am, but I also I need that constant reinforcement from those moms who got sober after their kids came along. So
Yeah. You talked about like the little rocks for, kind of knowing it's time. And for me, it was always having to parent when I was hungover, which didn't ever happen that often because like I'm not a big drinker anymore. I really haven't been since getting married-ish or like having my first baby. Like I really started to kind of calm down and just not enjoy it as much anymore. But the few times that I would like have, a friend's birthday party or like a concert or something where I was like really just going all out, the next day having to deal with your kid when you feel hungover and feel like absolute trash, it is the worst feeling in the world. And so for me, it took like a few years and a few of those experiences. And as I get older too, I don't know if this happens to any other people listening, but as I get older, like I got to the point last year where I couldn't even really handle one glass of wine, one glass of wine, and I would have a migraine for 2 days after. And I was just like, okay, this is clearly not working for me. This is not normal or worth it. Like, what am I doing? And so I decided to just completely stop and then realized that I didn't actually even miss it that much. So that was the part to me that was kind of interesting. Was there anything that surprised you once you kind of did get longer, time under your belt of not drinking?
Yeah, I hear those stories all the time of moms. Like, again, in my sobriety groups, I hear moms that are trying to get off that hamster wheel of like, I wake up, I'm hungover, I have my toddlers running around, like I feel like crap. I want to stop this cycle, but my drinking problem is not bad enough for me to stop.
Right.
Like you hear that so much from women like that share kind of your story, but don't have that as easy of a time just kind of like cutting it out. They keep getting back on that hamster wheel. So I love talking to moms about this topic. I constantly say it to myself because I know that if I was hungover while mothering this 1-year-old, I truly cannot imagine because my hangovers got so bad.
Oh, yeah.
To your point, the closer I got to 30, the guilt that I would feel, like I'm struggling with mom guilt in other ways. And I'm like, mom guilt, if I was drinking, oh my God, I can't imagine. And that's me. Like, and I always want to say, if you're me talking about like mommy wine culture and all that is not about moms. It's about the messages we get as moms.
Exactly.
It's not a personal, judgment or attack or anything on that, on moms who drink, because I get it. And I totally would have been, if my eyes weren't open, I would have been that mom.
The thing that has helped me so much too, and I'm curious what your experience has been, but like my husband also rarely drinks. Like he'll go months without having a drink. And so for me, I don't have that added like pressure or temptation, I guess. We just don't really have alcohol in the house. We don't go out and party very much. So I guess for me in that way, it's maybe easier than it would be for other people who have a partner who drinks. So what about your husband? Is he sober? Does he drink?
You're so right. That's a super common topic too in sobriety spaces with moms and dads who are trying to stop drinking, but their partner, their significant other drinks a lot and isn't on that same like mental or physical journey with alcohol right now. It's a big one. And I'm lucky because I was always the one, thinking back to our 20s, I was the one in the relationship pushing us to drink. That became very clear when I stopped. Because in the past I would have said, oh, we love to go out and drink. We love to get a bottle of wine. No, it was fully me. And so I lucked out. He is a normie, as they say in like AA spaces. He can pick up a drink and leave it half drank. He can go 3 months without drinking and be fine. Like he's like you're saying, your husband is too. So I am so lucky, so appreciative of that. He's been my biggest cheerleader. He'll have we have our little mini cabinet of whiskey and stuff that he has, like we keep it in the house. I'm fine with that. Some people aren't. He'll have a beer occasionally. That's fine. But I love my non-alcoholics. Like I'll take my little mocktails. And so it really works out. And that support is so important. I would say if you are someone in that situation, finding a sober space, finding a support group, and there are so many that I can recommend, is really crucial. If you're trying to stop, and then it causes relationship issues. Like that's a big theme. So it's a tricky one. It's possible. I think my biggest thing is you're on your own path. So try, as long as your partner's drinking is not impacting you negatively, not putting you at risk, not, a problem, focus on your own journey first. It takes years. Like it's like 5 years in the making for me, and I'm still learning new things about sobriety every day. Like I know how hard that is if your significant other still drinks and you're trying to stop.
And then, I mean, for me, it's even like my friends, like I don't really have any friends that don't drink. So, I mean, unless they're like pregnant at the time.
Yes.
I have like a buddy, but it's hard when you have, you know, you want to go out with your girlfriends and like everybody's drinking wine or like having a fun cocktail. And you're like, well, I could, like, you know, I don't have a problem with alcohol necessarily, but I know that it's not going to make me feel good. And I feel so much better when I don't. But it still feels like awkward or weird, or people think you're like, oh, you're too good to drink, or like you get kind of like those looks. So how do you navigate those like social situations where there is, you know, alcohol is seen as like the only way to have fun and like the only way to get together sometimes?
Yeah, it is like the social lubricant. At first, it was really tricky. Like those first couple of years, I will say 2020, because the whole world was staying inside.
Yeah.
There were challenges. A lot of people ramped up their drinking during 2020, but I was one of those people who like, that was when I had my reality check of cutting back. And it was kind of nice to be able to isolate for that reason.
True.
I would say it was challenging. I never really had the luxury, I'll say that in quotes, of like avoiding, you know, some people are just like in your first year, avoid those spaces, avoid bars, avoid going out with your friends for drinks, like go to coffee instead. Like there are other ways. And for me, I never really did that. I have, to your point, like a lot of my friends still drink, a lot of my family drinks. Alcohol is all around us. I live on Long Island. There's bars everywhere. There's Manhattan. There's bars everywhere. There are those uncomfortable moments. Like that is part of removing alcohol, is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you will. You'll start noticing it all around you, and you'll start getting like angry at like society for all the messages you get. I think now over time I've been able to get to a place where I'm like, I love to go out for dinner and drinks. Like, get me there. Like, get me the mocktail. You guys have your wine. Again, everybody's different. This is just my experience. But in these spaces now, you see more non-alcoholic, zero proof options on your menus at bars and restaurants. So yeah, I think it's like, do what's working for you. If you need to take a step back from like social settings and ask your friends for help helping you. I always say, like, when you join sober spaces, you might get a lot of messages about like cutting people off. And like, if someone doesn't support your sobriety, don't waste your time with them, or like you might lose a lot of friendships. You'll get those messages, but I always say like, question that, because all of my very best friends are drinkers and they support me to no end. I just needed to communicate with them a lot about what I was going through and how they could support me. So I'm like, just talk. Like the more we talk about it, the easier it becomes, the less stigma there is attached to it. So that's what I would say.
I love that. Yeah. And if your friends, as long as they're not like pressuring you to drink,
yes,
and you can, you know, you are one of those people who, like us, like you can be around drinkers and not really be affected by it. You also mentioned
or
earlier,
leave early, like,
or leave early.
Right.
I love to leave
like,
early anyway.
Leave early.
It's perfect.
Drive, like, yeah. I mean, love going home. So show up, show face, and then go home. Like,
yes. And you also mentioned, it's so true too. There are so many more like mocktail menus and things like that.
Yes.
And after the next break, I want to ask you for like your favorites. One thing that you mentioned that I wanted to go back to really quickly was that it's not always a linear journey. It's not always like I stopped drinking on this day and then I never drank again. So I would love if you could talk a little bit more about that. And I mentioned at the beginning, I haven't drank. My anniversary was the last time I had a glass of wine that made me land in bed for 2 days. This past July of 2024. But then, so I was at my sister's bachelorette party a couple months ago, or a few weeks ago. You know, I was doing great the whole weekend. Like I really didn't even feel like I wanted to drink at all. I had brought, do you know the brand Can?
Yes.
The THC and CBD, like little drink mixers. I was having those, having a great time. I was totally fine with that. And then we were on our last night, and we had gotten like bottle service. People were sending bottles of like Dom Perignon to our table. And I was just like, all right, well, I have to help. Like these girls are going to die trying to drink all this. So
this can't go to waste.
No, I was like, this can't go to waste. This is literally an $800 bottle of champagne. Like I should try it just for the experience of trying it. So I had maybe like a quarter of a glass and it tasted awful to me. It tasted so bad. I don't know.
Rocket fuel.
It's like a really nice bottle of champagne. I would imagine that it should taste good, but I just couldn't even do it. It was so weird. I was like, wow, I've totally just like lost the taste for it now. But after that, it kind of just even more so solidified, like, okay, I don't actually miss this at all. Like, I'm good. I put it down and I didn't finish it. And I'm like, I'm okay. So I'm wondering if you had any moments like that where you kind of, I don't want to call it like a relapse, but like you had a drink and then you had to kind of start over again, and how you feel about that. Like, does that feel like a failure to you, or is it just part of the journey?
Yes, to all of the above. It does feel like a failure. I have experienced it many, many times. It is a part of the journey. So in 2021, reached almost a full year. And then it was my bachelorette party. I drank at my bachelorette party. It is always the red wine that gets me. Still, I'm like, it's the only thing I find myself wanting. Like, I think I want it. I know I don't if I think through it. I know I don't actually want it. So that was 10 months and then a slip. And then and we call it a slip. In a lot of sober spaces, there is a distinction between like a full-blown relapse and a slip-up or a slide back. There are lots of different terminology, but yes. So a lot of my message on my page over the years has been to keep going when you slip. Like, there's something that happens when we do slip up that it's like, oh, fuck it, I drank, I broke my 10-month streak, let me just go like balls to the wall, like I'm drinking.
Right.
And so that slip at my bachelorette party, didn't do that. I immediately reached out to my community and I was like, I slipped, help. And they supported me through it. And then I was sober on my wedding day and it was amazing. Wow. And I was sober for my honeymoon and that was amazing. And then then that was into 2022. And in 2022, I counted, I had 9 slips, all experiences with red wine. Like you've described, okay, maybe I can have one. Maybe I can just have one and it'll be fine. But I am not the person who drinks one. I drink 4 and then I black out. And I know this. And then finally, that last time was the time it stuck. And then 2.5 years later, now here I am. Alcohol-free for 2.5 years. So sorry, long-winded. I have slipped many times and most people have, but it is that shame that's associated with it. And a lot of people then like run away from sobriety because they're ashamed about it. But I am all about normalizing slip and keep going because eventually it will stick.
We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to hear some of your recommendations for like booze-free brands. I know lots of people in sober and alcohol-free spaces also talk about cannabis and THC use. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. And we will be right back.
If there's one piece of advice I could give to new parents, it's to make your life as easy as possible. And one of the ways that I have liked to do that for the last several years since I became a mom is by using Thrive Market. Thrive Market is like your favorite health food store, but it's online and it's so much more affordable. And I'm talking premium brands like Primal Kitchen, Siete, Simple Mills. Everything's delivered right to your door and up to 30% less than what you'd pay at traditional stores. Everything that they sell is incredibly high quality and meets really high standards. They ban over 1,000 ingredients. I know lots of people are thinking about things like that right now. You can even filter by diet and preference. So things like gluten-free, low sugar, vegan. So you're not wasting time reading every single label at the grocery stores. I even stock up on some of my wellness favorites and pantry items, toothpaste. I love their diapers. Everything that they have has been so great for our family. I love it because I can get everything my family needs in one place, everything shipped directly to me, so it's one less thing that I have to think about and do throughout the week. You can also skip the junk without overspending if you head to thrivemarket.com/HeySleepyBaby. You'll get 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift. That's thrivemarket.com/HeySleepyBaby. thrivemarket.com/HeySleepyBaby.
When you hear Lululemon, you probably think of Align yoga pants, weightlessly soft, like you're wearing next to nothing. That's why you see them in class, at the grocery store, and in the park. But did you know about skirts with built-in liner shorts so you can still jump for the Frisbee? And tanks and bodysuits? With Align's iconic stretch, you won't want to take it off. And with endless style options, you don't have to. Shop in-store or online at Lululemon.com.
as you mentioned before the break, you've been alcohol-free for a couple of years now. Congratulations. I also think it's really interesting and important to talk about other substances. So what we would call here in San Francisco is like California sober. It's kind of how I would describe myself now. Like, you know, I will dabble in smoking weed and using like THC and CBD products, which have been really kind of fun because there are so many different options out there now. Curious if you have dabbled in any of that at all.
Yes, I have dabbled. I will say this is also one of my favorite topics, but it's a nuanced one as well. And just like I said before, it's like, we're not judging the moms. We're not judging the people who use it. We're judging the messages. And so, yeah, you're right. Like I would even say over the past 8 years, the cannabis industry, maybe even more, has slowly kind of, you know, with legalization around the country, on Long Island here, now it's recreationally legal, and I have recreational dispensaries literally a mile away from my house, multiple. So now we're starting to get these messages that like, that's a good alternative to alcohol. So if you're cutting back on alcohol and they say Gen Z is not drinking the way millennials do or did, and that's true. But that's because they're looking at other substances. That's because there's cannabis. That's because there's kava. There's also like ashwagandha, nootropics, and all of these things that are popping up in non-alcoholic beverages. You mentioned Can. Those are like, I think 5 or 10 milligram THC drinks. I am all for options. I am all for more options. I'm even for like those low ABV wine options, because if somebody else can benefit from that, that's amazing. Not me, but if they can, that's fantastic.
Right.
When it comes to weed, I have been all over the map again since high school. At this point in my life, and when I stopped drinking, I started relying on it very heavily to help me in those social settings. So I would have I would, bring a couple gummies with me to a family party or a barbecue or a concert. And then I started noticing a lot of the same behaviors and habits with weed. It got to the point where I was like, do I have my weed pen? Like, where do I have enough gummies for the next 7? Like, it was just for me becoming like, I didn't feel like I had control over it anymore again. Just like it kind of became over time with alcohol. So for me, cannabis is something that I've been working on removing from my life since before Penelope was born. I actually, right as I was trying to get pregnant with her, found a new therapist just to help me kind of assess, like, am I using this substance the same way I was using alcohol? And we removed it. And then I got pregnant with Penelope. And so it's a no for me. And I'm not anti-THC, just like I'm not anti-alcohol.
And it sounds like, it's just so individual, right? Like,
yes.
And what really matters, maybe even more than the substance, is like your behavior around the substance. And like, are you doing the sneaking?
Yes.
Are you feeling you're relying on it really heavily? So I think that's really important. And like, not everybody's journey is going to be the same. Like for some people, I think any substance like that is going to be kind of a trigger. And then other people, it's, you can handle one thing and really not another thing. And it's all okay. It's just like that self-awareness. So, okay. Do you have a favorite mocktail, a favorite brand? What are you liking to drink or to order when you are out with people who aren't drinking?
I'll mention 2 favorite brands. One is Tilden, non-alcoholic cocktails. They have 2 flavors. They're actually one of the founders is based in California. They're delicious. They have no adaptogens, no nootropics, no THC, no CBD. So if you're someone who is breastfeeding, pregnant, or doesn't want to mess with the ingredients like that, Tilden is perfect.
Amazing.
Gia is another one I love.
Yes, those are really good. They have those at a lot of restaurants here in San Francisco. Yes. They're delicious.
They're so good. They're popping up everywhere. So as much as I can order those brands when I see them on the menu, I will. Otherwise, love a Diet Coke. Love a Coke Zero.
There you go.
It's usually my move. Yeah.
Quickly tell us about More Than Sobriety. What kinds of conversations are you most excited to amplify over there?
Yeah. Over there, like I said before, I'm in marketing and branding. That's my career. And I love all the different brands that are popping up in the non-alcoholic space. So I wanted to make podcast where we could dive into those brands, learn about the founders and their stories, and also just bring on my friends and other leaders in the alcohol-free space, the sobriety space, and have them tell their story. So it's fun, it's casual, it's not, I try to not make this heavy because it can get heavy.
I'll link it in the show notes too so that people can check it out.
Thank you.
And I guess lastly, I'm just curious, like, what would you say to someone who's maybe just sober curious, but they're unsure of where to start? You've mentioned alcohol-free and sober spaces and communities a lot. How did you find your group of people that have supported you through this?
Yeah. And those spaces can sound daunting or scary because our idea of like a sober space is traditionally Alcoholics Anonymous. And then you picture like basement church meetings. And those are, again, I am not shitting on AA, never will. It's amazing. A lot of people's lives have been changed, but it's not the look I'm going for sometimes. When I'm trying to like sell this idea of like join a sober community. I have a bunch of resources on my page, but I would say for someone who's sober curious, I would say just keep following your gut. I know maybe that sounds oversimplified, but if you're someone who's thinking about it, there's a reason. Even if you think like, I don't have a reason, I don't have a rock bottom, I don't have a problem, you don't need a problem to stop. You don't need a rock bottom to stop. So just, try to not pay attention to the baggage associated with like sobriety, addiction, all of that, because the world is changing. You don't have to have a deep, dark story. Just keep following that voice and question the messages we get about alcohol every day, everywhere.
My last question for you, since you are a new mom, is what is something that you wish you had known about or wish someone told you before you became a parent?
Oh my gosh, everything. I think there's a lot of focus on the baby, of course, as there should be, but God, there's so much about my body that I had no idea about. So I think all of that, and honestly, that's how I found you, just searching for answers along this whole experience. So probably the changes with my body, my hormones, my, postpartum, all of it was just like, oh God, can we get a class on this in college or something that we can?
I know, it's so intense. Oh, that's such a good one. All right. Well, Meg, this has been such a great conversation. I know it's going to help so many people. And so I really appreciate you taking the time. Where can people find you and connect with you and read your work and all of that stuff?
Yes. Find me on Instagram at Meg Fee with 3 E's, MEGFEEE. And that's the best place, and go from there.
Thank you so much again for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you.
You have 5 new messages.
Hey Carl, it's Jen from Finance. Could you submit your expenses this week?
Hey Carl, happy Friday. It's Jen, Finance. Just need those receipts today. Me again, Carl. Really need those receipts, like last week. Please just tell me where they are. Are you by your desk right now?
Finance teams, you shouldn't be chasing down Carl or anyone else. With Ramp, expenses are sent with a text and reminders happen automatically. Switch your business to ramp.com today and love finance again.